Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So I'm really excited about this video because this is the beginning of a new series, I guess you could say, that I want to do. So I've really been thinking over the past couple weeks in light of, the global protests and the Black Lives Matter movement that obviously didn't just start now, but that has really gained a ton of traction worldwide. And then thinking about the changes that I can make to my channel and just my buying practices, because I really have learned that I really just am throwing my money at brands that I don't necessarily actually support their morals. So I want to be more cognizant of that when I'm making videos in terms of the brands that I'm talking about, the brands that I'm supporting and advocating for in my videos. I mean, I thought that I was doing that, but I don't know that I was doing the best job that I could have been. So in light of all of this, if you are following the beauty community in any capacity, I'm sure you have learned or come across the Pull Up or Shut Up, Pull Up for Change campaign movement that Sharon Shooter started. She's the founder of Uma Beauty. Basically, she's calling on beauty brands to release the numbers of Black employees that work at their organization or company, both company, organization-wide, and also in executive director level. A significant amount of brands are putting forth their numbers, whether or not they're reliable or fudging them in some way. And frankly, a lot of the brands that I have loved and supported for a long time have pitiful numbers, and it makes me really disappointed. And I just I haven't really known how to go about basically going forward with my channel, because in my opinion, it's one thing to be like, oh, well, we don't know these massive companies, their employment practices, their practices in general. I mean, they're all large companies, and in a way I think you kind of expect to not agree with some of the things they do, but I feel like when you have those numbers available to you now and you can see what they're how many Black people they actually have employed at their organization, it's another thing to completely ignore it. And so I don't want to do that. I want to basically put my money where my mouth is. And so I want to make a cognizant effort to actually look and think about what brands am I supporting, and just be a responsible consumer. Basically, consumers have the power, right? So I want to make sure that I'm, from now on anyway, being more cognizant of where I'm shopping, who I'm giving my money to, and supporting smaller indie brands. I think that's kind of the way that I'm leaning, and giving a lot of the bigger brands that have very questionable numbers, and just see basically where they are in a little while, and put my money and time into supporting and trying more indie brands, specifically Black-owned indie brands, but also just people of color-owned indie brands, smaller indie brands in general. And while I don't necessarily agree with canceling people outright or canceling a brand outright, I do think that I just want to wait and see, a lot of brands have come out with, oh, we're going to do better, but we need to see whether they actually are going to do better. So here we're getting to the point of the video now, is that I want to start a series where I try a new Black-owned indie brand every month for the next year, I guess, the next 12 months. My bank account is crying at the thought of this series, but we're gonna do it. I'm really excited. And I do want to say I wanted to do this series, just trying a new indie brand every month for a while, because I have wanted to get more into indie makeup, and I was like, instead of just, because I know a lot of people are doing like black owned makeup brands or a full face of like black owned makeup brands, I wanted to do something that basically would be longer term and that would transition me into being a more responsible consumer. Also, most of these, actually I think every single one of these brands was already on the list of brands that I wanted to try, so I just like took all of those brands and made them a list, because I think a lot of really popular indie brands, a lot of indie brands that are just like really exciting and interesting to me are black owned, and that I didn't realize were black owned before. Without further ado, after that eternity long introduction, God, the brand that we are trying today, or this month for June I guess, is Beauty Bakerie. I'm honestly so excited about this. I have wanted to try Beauty Bakerie for actually the longest time, and this kind of really just kicked my ass into gear, and I placed an order with them. And I would like to say I actually expected it to take like a full month to get to me, because shipping to Canada is no joke. Like, it takes forever to get here normally, and it came like within a couple days. I was literally like shocked that it got here so quickly, so I was so impressed by that. So I actually bought a fair few amount of things to try. I think I'm gonna do this as like a first impressions, like trying it, and then later in the month I will kind of report back and tell you how everything went, you know, continued use, not just a first impressions, because they're only so helpful. First, maybe I'll show you the products that I picked up, and then we'll like just run through testing them. So the first thing I got, I really wanted to try their eyeshadow formula, so I got their Do It for the Gram eyeshadow palette, and I will say like their branding is so well done. It's so cute, but not like over the top and gaudy, because I don't really love like super cutesy things, but they just brand and theme out their products so well, and I think you know you're doing it right when everyone tries to copy you and your concept. I'm just saying, okay? I'm just saying. And you may think to yourself, this looks just like a normal neutral eyeshadow palette, and that's kind of what I thought too, but when I tell you these, I did swatch this palette, these shimmers are so creamy and beautiful. I was actually so impressed. I cannot wait to put this on my eyes, and I'm excited, guys. The next thing I got was the Scoops Élysées blush palette, blush / highlighting palette. I think there's one highlighter in here, and this, you guys know, I fucking love blush. There's so many beautiful blush shades. Oh. The next thing I got is the Milk and Honey highlighting palette. I have heard so many amazing things about this palette for so long that I knew that I just couldn't miss out any longer, okay? I just knew that if I placed an order from Beauty Bakerie, I needed to get this palette. And again, I did swatch them, and they look so beautiful. And then the last thing I got is their Flower setting powder, and you guys, it actually comes in like a little flower package. Oh my god, it's so cute. And like, genuinely, I'm not like a cutesy, like I don't give a shit about like cutesy things, but this is really smart, okay? This is a good concept, executed very well. And like, look at that. you can't say that that's not absolutely genius. And I got this in the shade Rice. It's basically just a white powder. Okay, so I'm going to do my, I think I'm going to do my foundation on my brows, and then we're going to do eyeshadow, and then move on to the rest of the product. So I'll do that, and then I'll see you when I'm done that. Okay, we're back. I've zoomed you in. So we're going to go into the Do It for the Gram palette. I just seriously love their like themes so much, and it says like #GotMilf in the like the cover. I just think that's so funny. I don't know. So you can see these are the shades, super beautiful, but there's not really a shade that's necessarily like a transition shade for me. That's totally fine. I'm never really like that upset about that, because I'm a firm believer that transition shades are obviously very skin tone dependent. And I don't mind. Usually I just go in with my bronzer, which is what I'm doing now. So I'm just going to put my bronzer in my crease as a transition shade. And I've also primed my eyes and set them. Every product that I use on my face will be in the description box as usual. Okay, so now that I have my transition shade on, I'm going to take this like mid-toned neutral, it's pretty neutral brown, and I'm just going to put that in my crease. Okay, honestly my camera hates me, so it cut me off, but you didn't miss much. Basically I just put this lighter brown shade in my crease. I don't know where it cut off, but it's not quite as deep as I wanted it to be, which is fine. So I'm going to take this like warm orangey shade now. And I got sidetracked, but I think I was saying before, like this isn't obviously like a super colorful palette. It's not like the most revolutionary palette that we've ever seen, but I just wanted to try their eyeshadow formula. And also, like, I don't know what it is, but I feel like I've been craving neutrals, and sometimes you just need a good neutral eyeshadow palette. And I cannot wait to get to the metallics, because when I swatch them, you guys, they are so good. They're super creamy, and they have so much more dimension to them than they look like they have in the pan. They're so beautiful. And the shade is definitely a little bit deeper than the other brown that I used. And then I'm just going to blend the edges of that out with the Totally Clean brush. And now I'm going to take this deeper brown shade and put that in my crease and my outer corners as well. I would say that I would maybe like these eyeshadows to be a little bit more pigmented. This like deep brown, for example, isn't really the it's not building up as much as I would love it to. Yeah, that actually makes me really sad, because that orange shade was really pretty, but this brown shade just is not building up as much as I would like it to. They're blending like well, they're just not super pigmented eyeshadows. They're a little bit softer. So I think I am going to go into a little bit of a deeper brown. I'm just going to take the shade Kufuru from the Warrior 2 palette from Juvia's Place, just because it's what I have near me, and I think it's similar in tone to the brown shade, just because I want to create a little bit more depth. So you see how that's like, they look like they're the same depth in the pan, these two shades, but unfortunately I just didn't get like the build. I just didn't get the like depth that I wanted to from the Beauty Bakerie palette. Although that orange though is really, really pretty. So I just blended that deeper brown shade into my crease. Unfortunately, this brown just wasn't quite as deep as I wanted it to be. But after I've done that, I'm just going to cut my crease and then I'll be right back. Okay, so I just cut my crease. I'm going to go into that orange shade that I use and just go over the edges of the concealer. Same old steps, really. And then also onto my lid a little bit with the orange. So you can see that this is like beautifully pigmented. It blends so well. And then I'm going to go in with the deeper brown shade from the Juvia's Place palette and just go over the edge of my concealer. And then I'm going to deepen up the outer corner just a touch with that. Okay, so now is the part that at least I have been waiting for. Okay, so I'm going to take this deep green shade. It's actually like a duochrome shade. I'll insert some swatches so you can see, but it's really pretty. Super creamy. I'm just going to wet it a little bit. Just spray it with some water because, like I always say, this is how I use like all of my metallic shades, so I almost feel like it would be unfair to use it dry. And I'm just going to put this in the middle of my lid. See? Like, that is so creamy, so reflective, so beautiful. And I just wiped off that brush a little bit, and now I'm going to go into this blue shade here. And it has a little bit of like purple in it. It's like a duochrome light blue to purple. And then I'm going to wet that again and put that on the inner half of my eye. I'm going to blend that blue into the green a little bit and then take that green metallic on the other side of the brush and blend it into the blue. We want to have a nice blend going on, and then I'm going to take just a touch of the orange and blend it into the green. I'm just gonna, like, I just took this on my finger. Literally, look at that. Oh, it's so delicious. So I'm just gonna tap the green shade just onto my lid. Not that it needs it, I just feel like I could sit here and apply, like, look at that, and that is like the tiniest little touch of them. And then I'm just gonna take a touch of this lighter brown shade that I used in my crease initially, and I'm just going to run that over the edge of the eyeshadow. And then I'm going to take a little flat brush, and I'm going to take this like cream shade at the top here and put that on my brow bone. So I'm just going to quickly do my concealer. I'm using the Fenty Beauty Pro Filt'r concealer. Now I'm going to take the Flower setting powder. I have the shade Rice, which is just a white powder, I believe. And I'm just going to take some of that on my sponge and bake under my eyes. Because this is how I normally use loose setting powders. I bake with them under my eyes and also on my chin and on my forehead. And then generally I use a pressed powder all over the rest of my face because, I don't know, I just prefer that method, and I think I'm going to do that today because this powder is white. It literally is white, and while I am close to this color naturally, I just don't think it's going to help this too pale situation that we're already facing. So, and generally when I bake, I don't really leave it for that long. So I'm just going to like, I literally had that on there for, I don't know what time. And I'm just going to brush it off. It definitely made my under eyes look really smooth. It's a little bit lighter in texture than the normal setting powder that I use. Normally I use the Maybelline like loose powder, that it's a little bit thicker. But I don't hate it. It definitely like smooths everything out. And I'm just going to go ahead and set the rest of my face with the pressed powder that I normally use. Again, like I said, all of the products that I have on my face will be listed below, but obviously with like setting powder and stuff, it's more, I mean, it's how it makes your skin look, but to me it's also how it wears. So I can only say so much right now. It does look really smoothing though. Okay, just zoomed you in again and we can quickly finish up the lower lash line. So I'm going to take the orange shade that I used in my crease and just run that along the lower lash line. And then I'm going to take the fluffy side of that brush and blend it out. I'm going to take the deeper shade from the Bakerie palette and run that along my lower lash line as well, although I think I am going to take the brown shade that I used from the Juvia's Place palette in addition to this. And I'm going to take the deep brown from the Bakerie palette and blend that out a little bit. And then I'm going to take that light brown shade from the Bakerie palette and just run that along the edges of the eyeshadow on my lower lash line. Okay, so I just did my bronzer and I sprayed my face, and now we're going to move on to the other face products that I bought. So I think this is the part that I'm most excited for because I've heard nothing but amazing things about these highlighters. I'm going to go into the Milk and Honey highlighting palette and I'm going to use the shade Spoiler Alert. I think this is likely the only shade, well, I could probably use Oh Honey too. This is a little bit more pinky. This is just more of a true champagne shade. These two shades though look super beautiful. This peachy shade looks really, really nice. So I'm just going to put the Spoiler Alert shade on my cheeks. They feel really like thick. They're a very like creamy, thick feeling highlighter. I mean, you can't say that's not beautiful. As of right now, I have no complaints about that at all. Because I cannot help myself, I'm going to take this peachy shade, the shade Be Sweet. I'm going to put that on my inner corners as I just want to put it somewhere on my face. It looks like the most beautiful color. And now for blush. I'm so excited. And I think because of the way that my makeup's looking right now, I'm going to take this orange. I don't know why I couldn't remember the word for orange. It's in the shade French Tart. A little powdery, that's okay. And you guys know how much I love blush, so I knew that I had to pick this palette up. And then I'm going to put a little bit on my nose. Well, I feel like you honestly can't deny how beautiful these face products are. That blush blended so beautifully. It's so nice. As of right now, to me, the products that stand out the most are the like face products, so the highlighting palette and the blush palette, but the powder looks really nice once all my makeup has been applied. But I'm going to put lashes on, eyeliner, lipstick, basically just finish up my face, and then I will give a brief rundown of what I think of all the products that I've tried. Okay, I'm back. Finished my face. Now I'm gonna try to be as succinct as possible because I think I've made the world's longest video at this point, so here we go. So in order of the things that I've tried, the Do It For The Gram eyeshadow palette. Mixed feelings. I think the mattes blend out really well. They're just not quite as pigmented as I would have liked them to be. This orange, beautifully, like beautiful, blends out really well, is well pigmented. These two brown shades are not quite as pigmented and buildable as I would like. And because I am the color of paper, like I can't stress that enough, if they don't build up super deep on me, I imagine that if you had a medium to deep skin tone, you would run into issues with these shades if you expected them to be as deep as they look in the pan. I have a really difficult time being able to like accurately tell you whether or not something's going to be appropriate for like a really deep skin tone or would work well on a really deep skin tone. Likely if you have a really deep skin tone, you're not necessarily coming to my channel for like shade, like that kind of information. Just because I am so fair, I just don't know, frankly. I just have a really difficult time speaking to that, but I think you might run into issues, like I said. A caveat to that though is these metallics, in my opinion, almost make up for that. Like you have 1, 2, 3, 4 matte shades in here, and so the palette is mostly metallics, but they're so beautiful. You guys, like, they're so creamy, they're so pigmented, almost too creamy to the point where I'm curious as to whether they might crease a little bit, but I will report back. But there's just so much dimension in these when you swatch them. But there's so much dimension in them that you don't see in the pan, that you only see when you put them on your eyes or when you swatch them. And I almost think this palette would be worth picking up just for the metallics, because they're so beautiful. Like, maybe I'll zoom you in. Let's see. Like, they're just so shiny and duochromy and just absolutely stunning. So I'm a fan of those, but I will report back, like I said. Then the setting powder. I'm actually really impressed by this. It's a little bit lighter in consistency than what I'm used to, but it made my skin feel and look really smooth, and all of the other like powder products that I applied on top of this blended out really beautifully. Like I said before, a setting powder's worth, I think, is more in how it wears. So I obviously can't speak to that right now. It's just like a first impressions. So I will definitely, again, report back on that. But first impressions wise, it looks really smooth. Then the Milk and Honey highlighting palette. This is so nice. I knew based on the swatches, or at least I thought that I would love it, and I do. It's really reflective, really bright, exactly what I love in a highlighter formula. Like I said, a little bit thicker, but it does blend into the skin really beautifully. You do have like a wide range of shades. Like this is obviously quite deep, and then if I can use this, it's a pretty fair highlighter. I'm so impressed with this, and I love it. It reminds me a lot of the brand that shall not be named, the Anastasia highlighting formula that they have in their like palettes. So could be an option if you no longer want to support that brand. And then last but not least is the Scoops Élysées blush palette. This is so nice. I love blush. I love these shades. Obviously I only used one. This French Tart shade is the one I used. It's like the orange one. Blended out really beautifully, really bright, super nice. I love blush palettes. I love blush, and I'm so happy with this. To me, this is like the standout product. But yeah, that basically completes this video, guys. I know it was a long one, but I had a lot of things to say. So thank you for watching. If you watched any amount of this, and if you're still here, thank you. But yeah, I hope you guys like this and are excited for this new series that I'm starting on my channel. Like I said, my bank account is crying, but I've committed. I've posted this video, so I've committed to it. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.